All right, welcome everybody. This is Joe Danier, live from the Canfield Fair at the Youngstown Studio booth. And as promised, I'm going to bring in notable people from around the show for the remainder of the Canfield Fair, do some interviews. Ralph is here with me today. How you doing, bud?
I'm very well, thank you, Joe.
Good. Thanks for stopping by in spite of the band playing in the
We'll
background.
work through it.
Yes, we will. So how's the fair going for you guys?
The fair is wonderful. I have a booth here every year in the government building. I have it staffed by my very capable people. We're just there to help the people and see as many people as we can.
And you got to interface with your constituents,
Exactly,
right? It's always great.
Exactly. It's great. Yeah. And it's, I don't hide behind my desk. I don't get out with the general public as much as I'd like to. So this is a real opportunity.
So you like this kind of stuff,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
I'm kind of an introvert, so like I like to hide back in the office. But you're an outgoing guy, right?
I hope so. I have to be in this business.
Right. So last week we had a good interview with Dan Rivers down here. That went really well. So I'm not going to repeat the business side. It's more of a fun side.
Whatever you want.
All right. So any foods, anything of samplings from the Canfield Fair that was notable?
Well, we try to stick to something. Actually, you can do some healthy eating out here if you're working it hard enough. And the gyros, I always go to the gyros.
Yes.
It's meat, it's vegetables, not too many carbs. The Hawaiian noodles with chicken, good chicken on top. And of course, the Antone salad.
Okay.
Salami, tuna, and lettuce. It's all good for you.
So you found healthy stuff at the fair. That's amazing.
We tried. It is hard to do, but at a certain stage of your life, you have to watch where you're eating, and that's the way to go.
I found out after day one, like I was in a big health kick. I came out here and I ate, I think, an elephant ear, a fourth of an elephant ear, and I had a big hangover the next day just from sugar.
There's no question. You got carb hangover. There's no question. When you try to eliminate it from your diet, when you have carbs, it comes back to bite you.
Heck yeah. So how'd you get in politics? What's your origin story?
My origin story was, it was around this time of year, almost exactly this time of year in 2014. And I looked in the Vindicator that the Republican Party needed someone to run for county auditor. The gentleman who's running as a Republican had a health setback. He turned out needing open heart surgery and had to withdraw from the race. So there's a phone number and an email address to Mark Monroe saying, if anyone is interested and you have a pulse, please apply. So I sent off an email to them and attached my resume. And a couple days later, it was late on a Friday evening, and I was on my porch with my wife, Mary Alice, and we're enjoying a glass of wine, and the phone rings, and it's Mark Monroe, and he said, I need to see you right away tomorrow. And I said, that's fine. So I went in there Saturday morning, met with Mark Monroe, Tom McCabe, Ron Knickerbocker, a couple other the key party peoples, and they had my resume. They saw that I was Republican. We talked for a few minutes. They said, come back tomorrow, and we will have the precinct people here to nominate you as our candidate.
Oh, wow.
Because on Monday by 4 o'clock, they had to have a name in to the Board of Elections or not have anyone running in that race. So that's how it happened.
Okay.
So that was almost, this is 2022. So how many years ago? 8 years ago, almost to the day. So that was around September. Well, anyway, the election was 87 days later. And so it wasn't a marathon, it was a sprint. And I prevailed in that race that year.
And was that your first stint in politics? Or
I'd been a campaign treasurer several times when I was living in Pittsburgh for some candidates, but my first time ever as a candidate.
Okay, and what'd you do in the private sector before that?
I was a financial person, financial manager. I worked at some local banks for a few years, and then after college at John Carroll, and then here for 3 years in banking, up to Case Western Reserve for an MBA. We worked at the Fed when I was, MBA program was at night only. So I went to work all day and worked all day and classes all evening, it seemed like it. And then Ernst & Ernst hired me as an accountant and consultant, that for a few years, and then became a CPA there, and went to Pittsburgh and worked for Mellon Bank. Number of years with Mellon Bank. A friend of mine was at Pittsburgh National Bank. He said, I have a client looking for an MBA CPA. It's in the entertainment business. And they're looking for a CFO. And I said, I always wanted to be a chief financial officer. So I put my resume in to the Roonies, and a long interview. Well, a lot of people applied, obviously, but I was the chief financial officer of the Pittsburgh Steelers for 3 or 4 seasons. From there, back into banking. I ran a loan department in Carnegie, Pennsylvania, and Lincoln Savings. We got bought out. Turned myself into an investment person with my licensing. Ended up at Butler Wick. That's how I got back to the Youngstown area. And I was the chief financial officer at Butler Wick for a number of years. We got bought out twice. You're seeing a pattern here.
I see
in the financial
that, yeah.
industry. You keep it all this consolidation. And then I bought out a few years as a CFO of a local accounting firm, and then the gig with the county auditor. So
A lot of high-profile positions.
yeah.
And so do you prefer the private sector to the public sector? I mean, you've done both now.
Yeah, I think I don't think anyone should be in the public sector without being in the private sector first.
Amen.
You should really know what it is to make a payroll, and to account for a payroll, and the private industry works at a whole different pace than the government. But in the same token, it gave me an awful lot of experience in various aspects. By the time I ran for auditor, the auditor has to know something about real estate. Well, I ran a real estate loan department. They have to know something about appraisals. Same thing.
Right.
And you should know something about treasury and investments. I have my security licenses I had at that time. And I served as chief financial officer of these companies, so I knew about accounting and budgeting. And financial reporting, and auditing, certainly. So by the time I got to the office of the county auditor, I touched in almost every aspect of that office. So the last 7 going on 8 years, I was very pleased I get to apply the things I learned, coming through that 40 some years in private industry.
So in the private side, though, like I think not being able to do exactly what you want to do as an intelligent person in the private sector, you just go get it done. And in the public sector, there's like so many things that get in your way from just getting it done, right?
Exactly. There's 2 sides of that. You're absolutely right. When you are in the private sector, you're working for a company and they have a sense of urgency and change, and that's not the same in government. So in government, you have to get a lot of buy-in from a lot of people.
Right.
We started a new time and attendance system called ExecuTime, and I think we've been working on that for 4 years between the time we first started looking at it and then getting the commissioners to buy in, and we bought the software, and then to get every department, every employee in the county on it. And there are different modules. Before that, we probably had 8 or 10 different time and attendance systems scattered all across the county.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone had to have a payroll clerk or clerks to account for that. Sometimes it's spreadsheets, sometimes it's time clocks. So this is a unified system that feeds directly into our accounting system. Well, the last one up was our sheriff's department, because the sheriff's department is very complicated. It's 724, a lot of ins and outs, times out, all the different aspects. So we just got them up a few months ago. So that's how long it takes. So yeah, it's a task. The good side of this is, as the county auditor, county elected officials are in, I'll call them silos. It's our own silo. This is my thing. I'm the chief financial officer of the county. I don't work for the commissioners. None of the commissioners, other elected people, work for me. So I have some autonomy there. So I could hire who I want. I could operate the place where I want. I could initiate things and change the way I want. And that's different than business. In business, there might be boards of directors and CEOs and hierarchy of people that you have to deal with. So I do have a little more latitude here, and I enjoy that greatly.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of spirit of business in your department as well because of the nature of the post.
I run and have a business office. We sell dog tags. We sell cigarette licenses and vendor licenses. We assess property values. We pay 700 or 800 vouchers, that's checks, a week. We pay all the bills for the county. That means all the The receipts, you have to come through my office. I have great people looking at those. Everything comes in by Tuesday, gets paid by Thursday. Of course, since I've been in office, we put more and more of those payments by electronic transfer rather than check. We have about 1,400 employees in my office, have to pay those people every other week. That's a big, so it's all the basic functions of any business: payroll, payables, accounting, and then throw in the assessments and that sort of thing. It's and weights and measures. Nobody thinks of that. We're at the fair. We have our brand new weights and measures truck here. John Kennedy is my new weights and measure. No, he's been there since a year ago in December, and he came in with this apparatus. It hooks on the back of a pickup bed. And when John would go to a gas station, he has a 5-gallon measuring can. He had to pour that 5 gallons out, and then he had to go all the way to the tank and pour it back in. This apparatus, he could hold 240 gallons. He doesn't have to pick anything up. He takes the nozzle, puts it to the top of the machine. It measures the 5 gallons. It goes to the holding tanks. So he can get, again, before he empties the tank, he had 240 gallons. Just takes it back, puts a hose back in the tanks. So the efficiencies here will be unbelievable. And he's a great guy, good worker, but this will make him even more efficient.
Are you going to see the concert tonight?
Yes, we are.
All right, looking forward to it.
Do you even know who this is?
Come on. Of course I know who this is. We've been playing their music all week long, so in celebration of what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. I kind of grew up in that era. They came up in the late 60s, early 70s, and that was a real era of change here. I was just in college or coming out of college at that point.
Nice.
So it kind of speaks to the era, and some of the songs you'll hear tonight are songs we used to listen when I was a lifeguard at Farmer Jim's.
Nice. Well, Ralph, thank you so much for stopping by, and we got to know you a little bit deeper than we had been before. So
thank you so much.
Have fun at the concert tonight.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.